Welcome in. Time for another SDH 1v1 here on the network. I'm Jason Longshore, and I'm joined by someone that many of you know very, very well, but you might not know everything he's been up to as of late. Kevin Kratz, former Atlanta United midfielder, and now the director of coaching at Roswell Soccer Club. Kevin, thanks for some time today.
Thanks for having me, Jason. Looking forward to the talk.
Yeah, you guys have been in the news as of late. The whole expansion of MLS Next and Roswell SC is a big part of that. How did all of it come about? And really, what does it mean for Roswell Soccer Club going forward as part of MLS Next?
Yeah, I joined the Roswell Soccer Club late in 2023, coming from Atlanta United's academy as a coach over there. I joined here, and my goal is to push this program forward, right? And having access to higher leagues is one of the main reasons. While some of our players left to other organizations, and it was the right thing to do for the players, right? At some point, you got to give them the exposure, and that's always answers my question: why is it the right thing for the player? And that's right. So, but now with we applied actually to MLS Next before they even announced that second tier, because I believe MLS Next platform is amazing. I've been part of it with Atlanta United. I've been to the events. I think the structure, the events itself, the locations, everything about it, the recruitment process that happens at these events. I think this is second to none in this country, and also the leadership group with Fred Lipka and Jeff and all these other guys out there. They're in it for the right reasons. On top of that, being associated with Major League Soccer in that capacity with the MLS slogan is just a great platform. We're very excited for this opportunity. We're very passionate about it too. So not just me, also the board of directors. It's a great opportunity for us. It took a little bit of work, of course, meetings, but I'm very happy for our players first and foremost that they now get the chance to play in that MLS Next new tier against some other clubs in this area here, but even also nationwide at the events where it's a great time to showcase their talents.
How have you enjoyed the transition? And I know you're coaching still plenty, but how have you enjoyed the transition to kind of coaching the other coaches in the club and helping create those opportunities for them?
It's been a learning process. I work very closely with Jason Carney, who is the city athletic director here, and so it's been a learning process, especially all the back end stuff, right? Like the
Yeah.
registration and all these little ins and outs. One thing that I say that I took from Arthur Blank is like one of his core values: listen and respond. So I'm trying to get to my email to zero every night, and sometimes it takes a day longer or two, but just being present, listen and respond, and like showing value to not just your top players, everyone is something that I take very hard, that I want to push forward. But also coaching the staff. I learned a lot under the coaching staff at Atlanta United. With Omar Jaroon, I coached under him. He's in my program now. Mikey Ambrose is here, and I learned under Matt Laurie, Steve Cavino, Tony Annan that brought me back in. And then ultimately my experience as a player under Tata, which was, in my opinion, the best coach that I ever had. Just he saw the game in such a different perspective. That shaped me as a coach. And then in the fall, I was very heavy in coaching. I had my own team, a U16 team. In the spring, now I don't have a team, which helps me to get around more. I focus a lot on the academy at the moment because that's our next generation, that's our future. So, and that's where I'm giving ideas, sharing ideas, taking some ideas. I don't believe that I know everything. I believe it should be a collaboration. Always, is this the right thing for the player? How can we progress the boys and girls in our program? And it's a fun project. It's very cool to see different style of coaching and take a little bit from here. And I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy it.
I want to touch on a couple things you said there. We've talked about Tata and his effect on you and how he saw the game so differently than your experiences had been. But also just working with other coaches, how important is somebody in your role? How important is it for them to always try to learn something that maybe they don't know or be exposed to a different viewpoint?
I think if being uncomfortable is how you grow, right? Sometimes you got to be uncomfortable. We did a lot of with Jose Silva at Atlanta United and Steve Cook. We did a lot of coaching projects where you had to get exposed a little bit and you had to get uncomfortable. And I think it's something that some of my staff needs to learn. I need to learn too. On the other side, all the people that I have currently working for Roswell Soccer Club are very open-minded. It was one of the first message that I sent when I had my first meeting is, please be open-minded. It's not about pointing fingers. It's about helping. It's about supporting. And there are ways where I have arguments, right? Like, hey, show me why you do this. And if you can explain to me why this, then it's fine. And that's the biggest thing for me. If you have a reason behind it, and this reason is it's right for the player, then you can continue this way, and then we just shape it slightly. We tweak it a little bit here, tweak it a little bit there. It's a continuous growing experience, I believe, so that not only the players grow but also the coaches, and that improves overall the staff, improves the training sessions. One thing that I took as a project that I did in the fall, I looked at ball rolling time, in it of the training sessions. So when you look at, we did this at Atlanta United, and I think it's very helpful. So high intensity training sessions need to have active ball rolling time, and then so the players learn by playing the game while the coaches guide you through it. And I looked at some of our coaching staff, and I gave them some data, and be like, hey, look, here's great break here, just like 2 3 minutes. You were in and out, and then the players play again. So it's a cool, just a data point of showing you what you're actually doing before we dig into why you're doing it. So that's one project that I did in the fall, and I think it was all the coaches were very receptive to feedback, and that's always great to hear that you work with good people.
That's very cool. That's something that I think we don't always think about how you evaluate coaches. A lot of times it's by wins and losses, which isn't always the best way to evaluate how good a coach is doing. What are some other things you're finding as that you look for as you're evaluating your coaches and trying to help them improve?
I think this is always like the perception that so many have, right? Soccer is a sport where wins and loss matters. Um, One thing that I don't agree that winning at U9, winning at U12 makes you an outstanding team. It is part of it. It is part of it, and
Sure.
everybody wants to win. I think the mentality of wanting to win is important to keep, though, that the players are there to compete. While we as a coach, we need to say, hey, look, are we trying to do the right thing? Do we just boot the ball forward? And that's not me, right? I don't like to move it forward. And if you remember me from playing, I was fairly technical. I
Yes.
could pass the ball, and that was me, and that's what I'm trying to implement here. Can we create high level technical players that are able to solve high pressure situations? That is part of our goal. How do we get there? We launched just a futsal program, an internal futsal program. We launched technical training on the Fridays where we don't have real club training. So there are more projects along the way that we are trying to create an environment for the players. The ones that want it can train almost every day, and it's part of us. It's part of the program. Everything is in house. Speed and agility. We're about to draw ladders on the field so that this can be part of the program. So there's way more ways how we are trying to expand and maximize our resources that we have with the city of Roswell, and that's where we're going with this, and just give the kids all the opportunities that they're not limited to anything, and everything in house.
That's such an interesting aspect of this. And I feel like we talk about it all the time in soccer in this country about how the culture is so different than other countries. It's probably all meshing somewhere and coming together in the middle. But you have a different kind of youth player here than you might have in other countries. There's so much more competition for the kids' time. There's so many other things going on. But you mentioned creating opportunities for them to kind of, it's almost like opt in sort of stuff. How do you figure out what opportunities to add and how it can supplement what they're already getting? And then the ones who really want it and come to everything, how do you kind of keep them going and keep them striving to improve?
I love the word opportunity because we want it, like the coaches all want it, like the some of the families want it, but the players are not really in it, and that's absolutely fine. We added January as a training month. That usually was like a month off because it's very heavy with winter sports, basketball. We added this as a training month as a club, and the message was very clear. While I would love, as running the soccer program, I would love everyone to come to every session. I meant send a message to the family like, we understand you have different sports. So many players from our athletes play basketball. Finding that balance, I think, is communication up front, right? Being like, hey, if you miss, just let us know, while we would like for you to come. But if you have another conflict, especially in that program that we added, um, that is fine for now. When once your season is over, we want you to be committed to soccer, and especially the main training session. The opportunities that we create is, I like to throw out little challenges. So one thing that I do is I create a juggling challenge. It's very basic. I have some luggage tags. I think I have them here. So I got like different color luggage tags
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
logo on it, Santos Juggling Club. And this is what I do for the players, and they can earn it. And in our internal software, they need to record themselves, upload a video, and then I'll check it, and I can hand out the luggage tag to the coach to pass it on, and they can put it on their backpacks. So like little challenges like
Yeah.
this for the academy, it provides a little bit more like internal competition too.
Mhm.
So that's what I started. And the players love it, and it's, you see some of the younger ones are improving, and then it's a cool little project. And then I'm just trying to maximize everything. Futsal, I didn't grow up playing futsal,
I was gonna
but
ask you about football.
I played indoor soccer. I played indoor soccer in Germany. It's very big indoor tournaments.
Mhm.
We didn't play with a futsal ball, but I think I've seen it with my daughter. She has played futsal in the winter, and I think just the overall ability on the ball to master the ball has gotten so much better. So we have, with the city of Roswell, access to gyms that are being used for basketball, but there are some empty slots. So we're able to fill in our teams in there and use this as part of the development. And it's just adding some little pieces right and left. And then sometimes it's also not very successful. And then we say, okay, we tried. Let's try something else. I'm just trying all these different angles, and see what sticks at some point.
How have you seen in your time in Atlanta? Because now you've been here a while. You've been here long enough to have an opinion on it. How have you seen soccer in the city change during your time here?
I think the more I'm in this youth environment, right? When I came in, I was just in the professional world of it, and now I'm more in the youth environment with Atlanta United. If you look at the players that I believe, and Atlanta United being in Atlanta has boosted soccer in this area massively because of, now, before it was the Braves, it was the Falcons, right? This is your professional pathway. There was no professional pathway for soccer players. Now you have this pathway with Atlanta United, which means all the little 3 and 4 year olds in 2016, 2017, they started playing soccer instead of going to baseball. So now you look at the players that go through the ranks that are now, they, I believe, now at like U13, U14, U15, their overall ability on the ball is just so much higher than what it was, I believe, back then, 6, 7 years ago, because of the exposure to the ball. I'm a big fan of the Kobe Bryant approach with training hours, and you can replicate that because it's so true. It's what I did growing up. It's what so many of my teammates did growing up. We just played all the time, and you can't, with science or like fancy equipment. I don't think you can replicate the training hours. It's not possible. You gotta put the work in the basics, and that's what I'm trying to do here. The younger age groups, can we add maybe one more training every week of practice? Just 1 more hour of technical work, because we will see the benefits. I believe that we will see the benefits of this methodology over the next 3, 4, 5 years, not within 6 months.
Yeah.
But
How
the
do you?
soccer here in the city, with all the clubs that we have, internal competition, with the league structure now with MLS Next, adding that second tier, the partnership with GA, which combines the girls and the boys a little bit. You got the ECNL, ECNLRL environment. So there's so many different leagues, so many opportunities for players to play. Um, I just, when I look at Roswell, what we are trying to do, develop the best version of the soccer player that we have in front of us. Like, meet them where they're at, give them opportunities where they're at. The U15s to U19s. I mentioned it to you at the beginning. I added a training group in the spring where usually the ones that don't play high school don't train at all. Well, I was like, that's not right. They're missing 4 or 5 months of training. So I added a training group that combined boys and girls. Everybody trains together, and we just found a spot on our fields that is available, and we're there training twice a week. So now we have an opportunity for the ones that didn't make it or that didn't want to play high school, and another opportunity for them to play. And the players like it, and even boys and girls in the older age groups, they can train together if they're a little bit more mindful. No tackles flying. But it's just another opportunity, and then the kids can develop those 3 4 months while they're not playing in high school.
You mentioned having that long-term vision for these kinds of changes and additions to a program. It takes time to see the overall effects of it. How do you balance that? How do you balance the short term want to get better and obviously want to win more games and win more tournaments and advance in leagues with the long term belief that the pathway that you're creating is the right one?
Yeah, I think the league MLS Next, that extra tier, is part of that development, trying to find high level competition on a week to week basis. On the girls' side, we're currently in the DPL. While we're even there pushing for trying to be more. And I think it's always finding a balance between pushing, because it would be up to me, they would train 5 days a week. But I understand there are families out there, other commitments. I have 3 kids myself in different programs, and it's so cool to see though how over time, now with me being in it for a little over a year, how the players that have started very early and have taken advantage of these opportunities, how they are progressing. Some progress faster than others, and some need a little bit more training than others, and that's normal. It's talent, it's part of it. But for me, that long-term goal is to create the best version of themselves. I have a goal that, like, it's always those, what do you measure success on? How do you measure success is one of the hardest things. In juggling, it's fairly easy. It's like your number is your record. It's easy to measure success. Wins, it's easy to measure. How do we measure success for our academy players? I'm looking at like U9, U10, U11, U12. If they've been with us for 4 years and they have spent enough time on the ball, I believe they should be mastering the ball. They should be able to dribble with both feet, shoot with both feet, pass with both feet. While you still might see a difference between right and left foot, but if you have spent 4 years in a soccer program with all these opportunities that we are trying to create, I'm a believer that if you put in the hours, you will be able to do it. And then we can look at it, and then in 4 years from now, we say, okay, what have we missed? Have we missed the balls out of the air? All those little nuances. I'm always thinking. I'm always
Yeah.
that's me. I love it. It's my passion. It's what I do, and with my staff, it's a fun project. Like, what are you missing? And I moved some of the older coaches that have been in the program for a long time and have seen the older players. I have moved them back into the academy,
Okay.
so that you have the the exposure that they got at the older age group, and seen what did the players kind of miss, so that we can fix that at the younger age group, add this right and left. So that's where it's a cool project, and I'm looking forward to what it looks like in 3 4 years.
I feel like so often coaches kind of get lumped into an age group on the youth side and they're always with a certain kind of player, certain age of player. How beneficial is it to move the coaches around a little bit and get exposed to working with different age kids?
I think it's awesome to see. I love it being around the young ones. And I took this from Matt Laurie a little bit. I come from the playing side, so I do a lot of stuff with the way I would do it. And Matt Laurie was very detailed from like more like the learning side of the game. So it's been very interesting to see how I now have to look into these things too on the younger side. And then when you look at the coaches, I believe it's very important to sometimes come out of your environment that you know so good.
Yep.
And for players, I think it's even more beneficial. I look at my career. There were some coaches that they said one word and I knew exactly what it meant. And with other ones, it took me a little bit longer. But over time, I had in my academy at Bayer Leverkusen, the coaches were set in the age groups, which means they stayed at U10, they stayed at U12, they never moved up with you. So you got the input from so many different angles that by the time I was U17, U19, any coaches that I had going forward, I could easily adapt to what they wanted to do.
Right.
Similar to like going to a South American coach, right, with Tata and all the staff that I had throughout my playing career. There were so many different approaches, but I was able to somewhat manage all these different angles because of my exposure in my youth career. And I think that's also important for our players. Yes, you might be very successful with one coach, and we might keep you there for 2 or 3 or 4 years. But at some point, it might be more beneficial to say, "Hey, you get a different voice now, a different approach here, and you might not like it at first, but it might be beneficial going forward."
Makes total sense. We talked about Atlanta United and its impact on kind of how things have changed in soccer in this area. One reason why is having heroes for these kids to look up to, and somebody that you know really well came back to be a hero for another generation now in Miguel Almiron. How excited were you to see Miguel make the return to Atlanta?
I think it's phenomenal. Like Miki, what a player. I have one video. Um, I wish I could pull it up, but I have one video from a drill where it's me and him in the middle in a 2 versus 2, and he is just working and running and doing and passing and everything, and I'm barely standing there because he did everything, and it's like his work rate. I used it a lot for my players to show, hey, this is what effort looks like, boys and girls. This is what a player that ended up playing in the Premier League did on a day-to-day basis. And him coming back, I think, credit to Garth and Chris. I think it's a what a great move for the club, for the fans, but also for us football fans to see him play again. He was fun to watch back then. He was fun to watch in the Premier League, and like his career, it's very like big respect. And him back, I think it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to him light up Mercedes Benz again.
It's been an interesting start to the season so far. A lot of maybe, I don't say big changes, a lot of new faces in a lot of different places with Atlanta United. How have you had a chance to kind of consume it? I know you're very busy with everything going on at Roswell, but how have you kind of consumed what Ronnie Dyla is doing with the group right now? What do you think so far?
I think at home it was fun. That was a fun match for every fan. It was up and down and up and
Probably
down.
more fun for all of us than for Ronnie and for some of the players. I
Yeah,
think they were stressing
exactly.
a
Yeah,
bit.
exactly. No, it's interesting. He gives young players opportunities right now, but while other ones are still injured, right? Like Brooks is still coming back, and other ones. So you saw like Dom Chonkui just made his debut. He was part of my team in
I was going to ask
U16.
you about Dom.
Dom, like what a physical athlete, and good left foot. So I'm very happy for. I sent him a text message. Hey, make sure you take your jersey. Don't leave it. You don't get this chance back. So, but it's cool. Matty Atwood's came back from college and is playing. I had the benefit and the chance to work with him when he's in the U19s, just for a little bit when I started. And so it's very cool to see that those young players get the chance, while also like the more experienced players and the high level players are working hard. And so now results, okay, you lost against Charlotte now. It's on the road. On the road in MLS is always difficult, and I still think those first few weeks of a season with so many roster moves that you had, there's still time to glue and time to work things out. But I think it's very promising, the way they started. I like the way they play, and I'm looking forward to see more games because I always like to take things. I haven't really had the chance to talk to him yet or to meet him or his staff yet. I like to watch games so that I can take things from there. What are they doing? Are they shifting the back? Like all those tactical things that
Yeah.
those high level coaches do. It's such a cool project for me to just look at games from that perspective.
Yeah, it's been cool to see the little nuances that Ronnie is implementing that we didn't see before. We haven't seen here in Atlanta, little different elements. How important is it in your mind for what you do now to have a thriving professional team in town and a thriving Division 1 professional league like MLS right now that is getting a lot of eyeballs and getting a lot of people talking about it?
I think it's crucial. Like if you live in one of these markets, the the players that get exposed to it at a very young age, like going into the stadiums, even going to United second teams. I always tell some of our younger families where the kids are still small, I'm like, you should go see the second team because it's not as crowded, it's not as busy, so you can really soak it in a little bit more, and the kids can still run around. While Mercedes Benz, what a special place it is, huh? I think it's great, like to have this. I think it boosts not just my club, it boosts all our clubs in the area and soccer in general, and that's leading up to the World Cup, right? it's just massive. Plus, U.S. Soccer's headquarters is here. We look at Atlanta. Remember how we started in 2016? My meeting with Darren Eels back then, and now we're here. It's been amazing how this sport has grown. For me as a European, where that's the only thing we have.
It's crazy. 10 years after you arrive and start talking about Atlanta United, we're going to have World Cup games and a World Cup semifinal in this city. It's insane.
I know.
Are you
It's
crossing
amazing.
your fingers that Germany makes it there?
Oh yeah, of course, of course, of course. Yeah, gotta. It's my home country. While I just became American citizen. I just
Congratulations.
thanks. Yeah, it's been. I'm very thankful for like Atlanta United giving me the chance to play soccer here and allowing me to move over here. And then this country's just given me a lot, and my kids are born here, so it was the right step for me and for us. I'm American now. It's cool. I'm very excited. It's been a very exciting week.
Well, you have two national teams to pull for now, so you're in good
Yeah,
shape.
yeah. Good luck. I can't wait until they play each other. I have to pick.
Then you're all messed up. Well, hopefully that won't be in that World Cup semifinal. I still have bad flashbacks to 2002 in that game
Oh
because
yeah. Oh yeah.
Torsten Frings, come on now. We could sit here and do this all day, but Kevin, I know you're very busy. Thank you so much for your time. We'll definitely be checking back in with you on everything going on in Roswell. Exciting times for Roswell Soccer Club, and congrats on all the success.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. You keep doing what you do. You're doing
Not
great.
going anywhere.
Same here.